The eagerly awaited start of the TVR Tuscan Challenge at Silverstone, and ideal weather for open-top sports cars. Well, ideal weather for open-top boats, perhaps. The TVR's 34-car capacity grid, headed by poleman Phil Hindley and former champion Ian Flux. Behind them, Ian McKellar and Martin Short. And on row 3 of the grid, a great start to the season from Gavin Cooper, 5th quickest in qualifying and very quick in testing, and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Well, the marshals sweeping up after Martin Gilchrist, the 32nd of 34 starters, spun off on the warm-up lap. It's raining heavily. Away goes Ian Flux, a good start from him. Phil Hindley on full wet settings on the front of the grid. Doesn't get away too well. Troy Dunlop shows us what it's like. Powerboating down the front straight at Silverstone. Headlights on, through the gloom they come. This could be a real battle of survival. Oh, somebody's hit somebody else. 2 cars on the side of the track, 2 in the gravel traps as well. One of them looked as though he might well escape there, but Tim Hood out of the race at that stage. Phil Hindley leads then. Managed to grab his lead back from the fast-starting Ian Flux. In second place, though, it's Ian McKellar. The black and yellow noseband on his car shows that McKellar, who started from the 3rd spot on the grid, has come through into second place. This is the view from Ian Flux. This is like something from the Whitbread Round the World race. Really, really wet conditions, and that does give you a fairly accurate idea of how little the drivers can see. They have windscreen wipers, but when there's that amount of water coming up, as Troy Dunlop's camera shows there still is all the way around the circuit, it makes it very hard indeed. And don't forget, these cars have got enormous horsepower, and somebody's facing the wrong way. It's Giles Cooper. Don't hit me, don't hit me. Please don't hit me. He's keeping his hands in very sensibly out of harm's way. Here comes the leader then. Phil Hindley opted for full wet settings. He didn't believe it was going to dry out, and it looks as though he may well be right yet, folks. The Dayglow car of number 19, Grant Tromans. What on earth is he doing there? He started 13th, and he's challenging Martin Short now for 5th place. They haven't even completed a lap. Martin Short ran wide coming into Luffield. Must have hit a puddle there. 27 behind him is Steve Sutcliffe. Great start from Sutcliffe as well. He was only a position ahead on the grid. Oh dear, losing it under power there goes Ed Sharp. Round and round he goes. Protege of Jerry Marshall, who was in this TVR series in its infancy and drove these cars to great effect. Jerry Marshall, always a man for a big banger front engine car. Ian Flux in 3rd place, ahead of Gavin Cooper in 4th there. 5th place is Troy Dunlop, and then this group with Grant Tromans in 7th place. There is the reigning champion, Bobby Verden-Rose, started 7th on the grid. He's been pushed and shoved back from there as other people have made much better starts. Perhaps Bobby had gambled on it getting drier. I don't think he's going to be very successful in that gamble. You can see just how slippery it is. So under bridge they come. The rain still streaming down. Headlamps ablaze everywhere. Troy Dunlop with a front end wiggle before he even gets on the brakes. That's under power, folks, at the top of a hill. Now look at this, number 2, Rod Gretton, started 23rd on the grid, and he's already up inside the top 10, challenging Steve Sutcliffe. So Gretton has had a fantastic race, just clearing his visor. Perhaps now he'll start to get a little bit worried about the speed that he seems to be catching and passing everybody. 68 right behind Grant Tromans there is new boy Alex Garner. This is his first ever race. Well, it's normally a baptism of fire when you come into the TVRs. This is more a sort of ritual drowning, I think. If he survives this one, they'll decide he's not a witch and they might let him come back for more. Grant Tromans opposite locking across the start-finish line. That's on the straight at Silverstone. Such is the depth of water here. Cars are aquaplaning and locking up at the front and sliding at the back all over the place. Here are our lead trio then. Hindley, McKellar and Flux. We've seen Cooper go through, then Dunlop in 5th, Short in 6th, Tromans in 7th, Garner in 8th, Sutcliffe in 9th, and in 10th place from 23rd on the grid, Rod Gretton. Fantastic racing from some of the guys who didn't fare so well in qualifying. Conversely, some of the top 10 qualifiers have slid down the order a little bit. Coming down under braking, Martin Short gets a big nose end wiggle on. Grant Tromans has better braking grip and looks to get his nose inside. Short won't be very pleased with that. But Grant Tromans gets better drive out of the corner as well. This is the battle for fifth, and it looks as though Martin Short might have one going either side of him because Alex Garner's trying to get in on the act. He and Tromans are side by side, whichever way Short goes. One of them will be blocked, and it's Tromans because Garner goes past him. Garner's single-seater route showing there. Sutcliffe has dropped a place as well as Rod Gretton has gone past him. Sutcliffe on the inside line though. And Gretton gets slightly washed aside by the bow wave of Sutcliffe's car as he takes the position back. Caught in the swell there. Martin Short under pressure. And Peter Wheeler, the chairman, being very, very kind and allowing somebody to have an accident all on their own. The chairman of TVR moves to one side as Michael Caine, a newcomer from the Caterham series, finds that 450 horsepower is a little different from 150, especially when it's wet. Chris Lord comes down pit lane. At least I think he hopefully knows he's coming down pit lane. The inside of his screen is so misted up, I'm not sure if he really can tell where he's going. And that's certainly the case too for number 55. Mark Preston on the grass, trying to find some traction, but very, very difficult here. Manages to just keep it rolling, and he'll splash his way out. Don't think he'll have much traction from the next couple of corners till he works the mud out. Phil Hindley, the leader, Ian McKellar right with him. These two had some marvellous scraps last year, really ding-dong battles. And Ian McKellar fishtailing wildly as he desperately tries to get the power on. They produced all sorts of entertainment, and look at that fantastic four-wheel slide from Ian McKellar. No wonder Ian Flux is stepping back a couple of feet in the third-place car. These two having a fabulous battle. Troy Dunlop still fighting the Southern Ocean, and he's found himself a little beach. Pretty appropriate in the weather. Troy Dunlop very, very firmly beached there out of this race. It doesn't matter how much he revs, it'll just rattle a bit more. Steve Hyde in the second of the Barclays Mercantile cars just misses him. He's found another bit of tarmac somewhere. Well, that's not a piece of track, but he will rejoin gradually. Rod Gretton then with 27, Steve Sutcliffe and 1, Bobby Verdenroe right behind him. Alex Garner now behind them, so Garner seems to have had a moment of his own. Here's 28, Jamie Campbell-Walter had an incident at the first corner, and now he's muffing it completely under bridge. Off he goes backwards. So Campbell-Walter, one of last year's championship challengers, out of the race, but what a fine figure of a man as he bails out. And there's his teammate, Colin Blower, the number 5 machine. Oh dear, those cars so attractive before the race in their beautiful blue livery, but Colin has really damaged the back end of that. Now a challenge by Bobby Verdenroe, goes by Martin Short and keeps on going, just gets it turned in. Short doesn't though. Oh dear, I don't think Martin will take very kindly to that. Alex Garner saw about a fifth of an opening there and went in with both feet. Well, perhaps in the conditions he could be forgiven for a little bit of lack of control. The black and yellow flags are out, telling everybody to calm down as if it were a pace car situation. So in response, Gavin Cooper, looking at the flags, perhaps almost beaches himself in the gravel, just gets back out and leaves most of the gravel trap in the middle of the corner there. So the black and yellow flags are out, and that means that everybody brings the cars down to a very sensible pace, as if there were a pace car out on the track. The leader then, Phil Hindley, Ian McKellar behind him. Ian Flux in third place. Fourth place, Gavin Cooper, still shedding gravel. That's not just the rattle of rain on the camera you can hear, that's the rattle of gravel on the track as well. Yellow and white flags. White flags mean there are vehicles on the circuit, and the rescue vehicle out to recover John Hartshorn's number 16 car from the Cops gravel trap, one of several to have gone off there. And a replay now of Gavin Cooper taking third place from Ian Flux just before that incident at the end of the main straight. So Cooper was up into third place and should very probably get it if they reshuffle the order if there is to be a restart of the race. At the moment, everybody firmly under control of the black and yellow flags. Jamie Campbell-Walter's car deemed to be, probably sensibly so, in a dangerous position and being retrieved while they have the chance to do so. You can see even in these conditions, they'd be able to really close up too much under the black and yellow flags. But they're racing again, and here is our battle for the lead. Again, Phil Hindley leading in the green car with the dark green nose, and Ian McKellar behind him, the yellow and black checkered noseband. And we've seen these two at it hammer and tongs through most of the 1997 season. Great to see such excellent scrapping for the lead of a race. That's what one mark racing is all about, of course, and these TVRs produce such fantastic battles all the way through the field. Number 2 there, running out of road, Rod Gresson got that completely wrong. But even more wrong is 68. Off he goes in a big way into the barriers. Alex Garner, fortunately on the passenger side. He's holding his head though. Maybe he banged that on the roll cage in the impact. Wheels come off the car. Hang off there. It looked as though there was no braking effort at all. The lead battle continues ahead of that action. Ian McKellar trying to go around the outside because Phil Hindley has managed to close down the inside line, and the enormous waves of water, sheets of water coming off the apex of the corner. Unbelievable. Gavin Cooper getting himself involved in this now. He's back up into 3rd place. Ian Flux down in 4th. And again, Flux some way behind this, doesn't seem to have the setup. Side by side across the line, and again Ian McKellar with the opposite lock-on as he takes the lead across the start-finish line. Well, the rescue vehicles now, the doctor's car with Alex Garner, and I wonder whether the race will continue for much longer. Certainly there'll be yellow flags down there, but the race lead has changed. Ian McKellar leads now from Phil Hindley, who's under pressure from Gavin Cooper. McKellar catching slower traffic. And there is Hindley. Inside him comes Cooper. Cooper has to lock up. He's going to hit the leader. He is going to hit him. He's taking him off. Gavin Cooper briefly took 2nd place under waved yellow flags. It must be noted there. And the red flags are out. They're stopping the race. The marshals there deciding that it is getting far too dangerous. And who can argue with that? Well, Gavin Cooper took 2nd place under yellow flags and then took off the leader. But the race has been stopped, and the result will be declared on a count back to the last complete full lap. So some degree of discussion, I would imagine, going on between the very aggrieved Ian McKellar and Gavin Cooper there. Cars come back to the grid, but they're being waved away. There will be no restart. Conditions really far too foul. Look again at Alex Garner's accident, goes off at unabated speed, picks up speed over the grass there. That's really like ice. Big impact in the barriers, and he definitely did really whack his head on the roll cage. It is padded, he is wearing a helmet, but still that's a mighty impact. So Phil Hindley, our winner then from Ian McKellar and Ian Flux. Hindley the winner from pole position, but I hardly think that that tells the story of this race. 28 cars on the grid for the qualification race for the TVR Tuscan Challenge's 2nd round at Donington Park. Away they go on the front row of the grid, Troy Dunlop and Colin Blower, but a dynamic start by number 22, Ian Flux, puts his machine into the lead before they get to the first corner. Well, as ever, the packed TVR field thunders down through the corner into Craner Curves. We ride with Mark Preston. He started 8th. He goes around the outside of Grant Tromans, slots in behind Michael Caine. He's 7th. Michael Caine ahead of him in 6th place. And a battle royal as they try and get into single file before the old hairpin. Facing the wrong way, 15 Giles Cooper and 61 Simon Flood. And Troy Dunlop battling away with Ian McKellar. Dunlop started from the front of the grid, McKellar on the 3rd row. So McKellar's had a great start, but none better than Ian Flux. There he is out front. Behind him, the blue car of Colin Blower, rebuilt after a Silverstone crash, like that of his young teammate Jamie Campbell-Walter. Campbell-Walter's qualified his blue car on pole. Through go the lead pair, followed by Troy Dunlop and Ian McKellar. Steve Cole fifth across the line ahead of Michael Caine and Mark Preston, but this is a challenge by McKellar for third place. Troy Dunlop holds the line going into Redgate. Just behind that battle, Mark Preston snapping at the heels of Michael Caine. Very close there coming out of Redgate as the leaders come down to the old hairpin. McKellar's making a challenge, that doesn't work, but down the inside comes Preston. Takes the apex. Has he got room on the exit? He has. Michael Caine let him go through cleanly. So Caine goes down a spot and Preston comes up into sixth place. But here is Colin Blower working hard to stay in contact with Ian Flux. And Ian McKellar looking for a way past Troy Dunlop. The fastest 6 cars in the open qualifying session go through automatically onto the front 3 rows of the feature race. And then positions in the qualifying race determine where everybody else starts. The best they can hope for is 7th place for winning this qualifying race. And beyond that, it's further back down the grid. Again with Mark Preston now back behind Michael Caine. So for all his good work down through the Craney curves and into the old hairpin, Preston has it all to do again. He lost ground on the back of the circuit. Grant Troman's there in the Dayglow yellow number 19 under pressure as well. And as ever, battles all the way down the field here. Darren Dowling, 89, slips down the inside of Alex Garner. Garner had a great debut in the TVR series at Silverstone before a huge impact in the rain put him out of the race. Big impact as well for Blower. But he's avoiding those problems. McKellar now dropping away a little bit in third place. And Grant Tromans has started to shake off his challenges. Preston doesn't make the greatest of exits onto this vital straight here at Donington Park. Ian Flux into Goddard, Colin Blower still right with him. And it looks from Blower's body language as if he feels he's got a much quicker car than Flux, but Ian Flux is a very hard man to pass when he wants to stay ahead. And Colin Blower again denied a chance to run up the inside. Making a move for fourth place though, just ahead of our cameraman. Michael Caine dives past Ian McKellar. Up into fourth he goes, McKellar down to fifth, Mark Preston a few lengths behind that pair. And down the Craner curves, Ian Flux has opened himself a slight advantage, and there is the battle with Michael Caine now ahead of Ian McKellar. McKellar in the 96 car, the man who was challenging Phil Hindley for the lead of the opening round of the championship at Silverstone when it all came to grief in the rain, and expect more battles between those two during the season. At the moment though, McKellar has a fierce battle on his hand with ex-Caterham racer Michael Caine. The leaders now being caught significantly by Troy Dunlop. It looks as though Ian Flux is content to remain the cork in this bottle, holding back Colin Blower. Troy Dunlop now closing to within a second of the leader. Second place man Colin Blower almost can reach out and touch Flux's car at stages around this circuit. Behind the lead trio, a three-way battle for fourth place. Michael Caine and Ian McKellar ganging up at the moment on Steve Cole. Cole in the number 3 car has them both go down inside him. Michael Caine leads the way and Ian McKellar follows through. So Cole lost 2 places there into Redgate. Could the same happen to Flux? Troy Dunlop now right up behind Colin Blower. And within half a lap or so, he should be in a position to challenge. And that will make it a 3-way battle for the lead. And if Flux continues to hold up these pair, then they may well be joined by Michael Caine and Ian McKellar, who are towing themselves up fast behind in 4th and 5th places. Steve Cole being dropped back at the moment. Ian Flux lifting a wheel, pouring the air as they come onto the straight, again keeping his nose out front, but for how long? 26, Tim Hood finds gravel. Well, he's the first car to run into trouble during this race, but Ian Flux may be another one. Now he's got both of them snapping at his heels. He can defend one side, but can he defend both? Colin Blower goes around the outside. Troy Dunlop waits to see where the gap will open, decides to follow Blower. Gets the better line through the corner. Now he's inside Colin Blower. Colin Blower left himself wide open to attack there as he attacked Flux. And now Flux has got Troy Dunlop behind him, Colin Blower in third, Michael Caine in fourth and Ian McKellar in fifth, all together. Steve Cole still in sixth place and unable really to match the pace of this lead group. Troy Dunlop with Colin Blower attacking hard, and a breathing space opening up for Flux as down the inside goes Michael Caine and through goes Ian McKellar for a second time, following through a door opened by Michael Caine. This time it's Colin Blower who's the recipient of the double whammy. Blower tries to fight back through the two right-handers but fails. Ian Flux now being closed down once more by Troy Dunlop. Not quite close enough to do anything but take a desperate lunge. Dunlop almost does it, but thinks better of it at the last moment. Closes up very, very tight indeed under braking. McKellar's in fifth place there at the tail of this group now. Troy Dunlop, as Colin Blower was a moment or two ago, looking very, very feisty behind Ian Flux. Blower now can't find a way past Michael Caine, and Caine seems to have a very nicely set up car indeed. Riding down the hill with Mark Preston. Down the Craner curves we plunge. Steve Cole's brake lights come on ahead in sixth place. Now changing down, braking hard for the old hairpin, accelerating through, and then piling on the power.
Michael Caine, fourth is Blower, fifth is Ian
So
McKellar.
Ian Flux again with a tiny breathing space. Troy Dunlop must have tried something at the old hairpin that didn't quite work and dropped him back a fraction. Second, third, fourth and fifth very close indeed. Dunlop, Michael Caine in third place right behind him. No passing there because the yellow flag's out, but once they get onto the straight, it's a free-for-all. Flux guards the grass on the right-hand side as Dunlop pulls alongside. Flux will have the inside line at the chicane, but it'll be a big battle on the brakes, and Ian Flux just holds on from Troy Dunlop. Michael Caine was watching it all develop in third place, knew there wasn't room for him. Three abreast going in there, but he's looking to make up a place around the outside of Troy Dunlop at Redgate. Takes the wide line, opens himself up to attack by Colin Blower, and Blower looks to go through. Similarly, right behind Steve Cole, under pressure from Mark Preston. This is the battle for sixth place. Well, did Blower get through? No, he didn't, but he's looking again down to the old hairpin. He tries inside of Michael Caine. That doesn't work either, and he lost momentum there. Ian McKellar snapping around at the back of Blower's number 5 machine. So this is action and excitement all the way, and Ian Flux holding everybody up has turned into a great race for the spectators. Ian McKellar pushing Colin Blower along. He can't get him out of the way quickly enough. Michael Caine looks down the inside of Troy Dunlop once more. Again, it doesn't happen. Again, he leaves big dark stripes on the road, getting on the power to really fire his way out of the corner and to come alongside Dunlop on the straight. It's the last lap. Everybody will make their desperate moves here at Goddard, but Flux will win it, no question about that. Troy Dunlop should come home in second place. Great race from Ian Flux. He held everybody up, but he held everybody off, and he wins the qualifying race to start the feature, 7th on the grid. So second for Troy Dunlop from Michael Caine, Ian McKellar, Colin Blower and Steve Cole. Pole position for the feature decided by qualifying speed alone, and Jamie Campbell-Walter sits out front on the front row of the grid. Alongside him, the reigning champion, Bobby Burden-Rowe, so the battle of the hyphens will be on right from the word go. JCW versus BVR. Martin Short, third place on the grid, and alongside him in the number 9 Barclays Mercantile car, Gavin Cooper. Steve Guglielmi will start 5th, Phil Hindley 6th, and Ian Flux, the qualifying race winner, lines up in 7th with Troy Dunlop alongside him. 32 cars then, ready to take the start. The lights go to green, and from pole position, the black car of Jamie Campbell-Walter shoots off, but piling up into the air, number 68, that's Alex Garner, and Garner was bumped up into the air by somebody, didn't see what happened in the middle of the field there. Mark Preston already with drops of water on the camera lens. Now, is that from somebody's overflow tank of the radiator, or is there water in the air? Certainly the track is dry. Everybody has started this race on slicks, and as the field pours down the Craner curves for the first time, confusion everywhere. Looking back from Gavin Cooper to Phil Hindley, Martin Short's teammate, but there is Short in third place. Fourth place is Steve Guglielmi, but Jamie Campbell-Walter has held his lead from pole position against the reigning champion Bobby Verden-Rowe. Verden-Rowe only sixth at Silverstone in dreadfully wet conditions. It was more like a powerboat race than a racing car race. But now Bobby Verden-Rowe trying to outbrake his rival around the outside. Campbell-Walter had the better line and holds on. So across the line at the end of lap 1, Jamie Campbell-Walter from Bobby Verden-Rowe and Martin Short. A look again at the start, and it's the tyre of Alex Garner running over the front wheel of Martin Krass's blue car there that sends Garner up into the air and then completely out of control through the middle of the field. How nobody hit him, Lord only knows. Well, he in fact rejoins the race, being led at the moment by Jamie Campbell-Walter, then Verden-Rowe, then Short in third place, then Guglielmi in fourth place. Behind them, the yellow nose of Ian McKellar ahead of Troy Dunlop. So Ian McKellar from 8th on the grid to 5th place, that yellow checkered noseband, as they fan out 2 by 2. They come not into the arc, but into Goddard's. And has Martin Short made up a place? Yes, he has. He had the inside line as Bobby Verden-Rowe was forced to back off. And Bobby Verden-Rowe now looks as though he might lose 4th place on the straight to Steve Guglielmi. Ian McKellar alongside Guglielmi. On the grass, 55, Mark Preston. Wipers on some of the cars now and pulling over